fiery Donald Trump loyalist and a one-time Trump skeptic seized Republican nominations for governor in 2 states Tuesday, while Vermont Democrats picked the nation's first transgender nominee for governor to represent them in November. The results came as voters across 4 states cast ballots and the 2018 midterm season lurched toward its finale. Trump renewed his grip on the modern-day GOP as his pick for Kansas governor. Secretary of State Chris Kobach scored a delayed victory against Governor Jeff Collier, who became the first incumbent governor to be defeated this season. Elsewhere in the Midwest, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker won the right to seek a third term, while former Minnesota Gov. Tim Pawlenty was fighting to resurrect his political career and prove he fits in Trump's GOP. Both Walker and Pawlenty criticized Trump before he became president, but they have since rallied behind him. Meanwhile, accusations of domestic violence involving the Democratic National Committee's second-in-command threatened to undermine Democratic enthusiasm, particularly in Minnesota, a state where women dominated on Tuesday. Vermont, Connecticut, Minnesota and Wisconsin all held primaries Tuesday. Kansas gubernatorial primary, which was held last week, was finalized when Collier conceded defeat. All but 10 states will have picked their candidates for November's general election by the time the day's votes are counted. While the full political battlefield isn't quite set, the stakes are clear. Democrats are working to topple Republican control of Congress and governors' offices across the nation. In Vermont, Democrat Christine Halquist won the Democratic nomination in her quest to become the nation's first transgender governor. The former chief executive of Vermont Electric Cooperative bested the field of 4 Democrats that included a 14-year-old. Halquist will face a tough fight in November. Republican incumbent Phil Scott remains more popular with Democrats than members of his own party in the solidly liberal state. Vermont Democrats also nominated Senator Bernie Sanders, who hasn't ruled out a second presidential run in 2020, for a third term in the Senate. The 76-year-old Democratic Socialist won the Democratic nomination, but he is expected to turn it down and run as an independent. Democrats appeared particularly motivated in Wisconsin, where 8 candidates lined up for the chance to take on Walker, a 2-term incumbent who has warned his party about the prospect of Democratic gains. Walker's strong anti-union policies made him a villain to Democrats long before Trump's rise. State Schools Chief Tony Evers, who has clashed with Walker at times, won the Democratic nomination and will take on Walker this fall. Once a target of Trump criticism, Walker gained the president's endorsement in a tweet Monday night calling him a tremendous governor who has done incredible things for that great state. But Trump's persistent attacks on Wisconsin-based motorcycle maker Harley Davidson put Republican candidates on their heels in recent days, Walker among them. "There's a lot of disgust at what's going on at the top level moving down," said Madison voter Connor McGuire, 49, who described himself as a frustrated Republican but voted for Democrat Evers. Initially a Walker supporter, McGuire said he's disgusted by Walker's embrace of Trump. Trump also stars, informally at least, in Wisconsin Senate primaries as Republicans try to deny Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin a second term. The GOP primary featured fervent Trump supporters, former Marine Kevin Nicholson, running as an outsider, and longtime state lawmaker Leah Vaughn, who is backed by House Speaker Paul Ryan. Neither candidate was an early Trump supporter, and Vaughn has struggled to explain footage recently unearthed from 2016 in which she calls Trump offensive to everyone. Tuesday's primary served as a test of Democratic enthusiasm in the Upper Midwest, a region that has long been associated with liberal politics but has been trending red. Trump won Wisconsin by less than 1 percentage point in 2016, becoming the first Republican presidential candidate to carry the state since 1984. It was much the same in Minnesota, where Trump lost by less than 3 percentage points in a state that hasn't backed a Republican presidential contender since 1972. 2 women won Democratic Senate nominations, Senator Amy Klobuchar and Senator Tina Smith, who had been appointed to replace disgraced Democratic Senator Al Franken. A record number of women are running this year for governor and Congress across the country. Meanwhile, a new scandal threatened to roil Minnesota politics. Representative Keith Ellison, the Democratic National Committee's deputy chairman, captured his party's nomination in the race to become the state's attorney general. That's after Ellison's candidacy was rocked by allegations over the weekend of domestic violence amid a broader national outcry against sexual misconduct by powerful men in business, entertainment and politics. Ellison has denied a former girlfriend's allegations that he dragged her off a bed while screaming obscenities during a 2016 relationship she said was plagued by narcissistic abuse. Pawlenty, a former two-term governor, might have been the biggest name on Minnesota's ballot. He's the leading Republican candidate in the high-profile race to replace outgoing Democratic Governor Mark Dayton. Having lost his own short-lived bid for president in 2012, Pawlenty spent much of the past 6 years as a corporate lobbyist. Like Republican candidates elsewhere, Pawlenty has struggled to live down his blistering critique of Trump in the weeks leading up to the 2016 election. At the time, he called Trump unhinged and unfit for the presidency. Pawlenty has since said he voted for Trump and supports his agenda. The Democratic field for governor featured U.S. Representative Tim Walz, State Representative Aaron Murphy and Attorney General Lori Swanson. Also in Minnesota, Democrat Ilhan Omar, the nation's first Somali-American legislator, won his party's congressional primary in the race to replace Ellison. Not to be forgotten, Connecticut held primary contests as well. 5 Republicans lined up to replace the unpopular outgoing governor, Democrat Dan Malloy. Former gubernatorial candidate Ned Lamont won the Democratic nomination.